Hi everyone, welcome back to Crochet Rocks. In this video I'm going to show you how to make my new blanket. Now this is called the Chunky Box Granny and I'm making this for my partner Gary. So it's not finished. At the moment I'm waiting for more yarn to come through. I do have a little bit left over. But this I'm making with the Premier Puzzle yarn in the colour Riddle. And I've used 2 skeins. I've got a little bit left that I'm currently just at the end of a ball that I'm working on. And this blanket is quite big now. I can't get it all in the shot, but it's by no means big enough. So what I've done is I've been using the Premier Puzzle yarn as the dominant colour, and then in between, this looks like black, but it's actually a really very dark blue called Oxford Blue. And that yarn is just a chunky yarn that I got in one of the Aldi shopping events. But you can use any. Now, it will work the other way. You can use the lighter colour in between. I did that before on a baby blanket that I made. And I made that with a DK weight, which is a 3-weight yarn. But this is made with a bulky 5 or a chunky in the UK. So I'm just going to move that one out the way because it's a little bit big to see, and I made this swatch so that I could show you with plain yarn that I'm going to show you today how to make it. And this is just Signet yarn. I've got 2 like contrasting colours. This one is Signet Chunky Baby Blue and this one is Signet Chunky Royal. It's just an inexpensive yarn that we can pick up quite easily in this country anyway, but you can use any yarn you wish for it. And I'm going to show you the swatch that I'm going to make in a second will be the other way around. So we'll be doing the dark colour as the dominant colour and the light colour in between, just to show you the difference. Plus with this one I had a little experiment. And I need to get the other one back again now. You'll see it more when I make the swatch, because I'll make the swatch this way. I'm trying to find my centre. There it is. The centre piece on this one is all the same colour. And when I was making it, I just thought it would be nice if it was this dark colour. It's not as easy as it looks to do that, because if it was a case of just making the chain in the opposite colour, then that would be one thing, but it really isn't, because you have to end off and start up the new one and do more chain. So it is a little bit more tricky, so I will do it the traditional way, and then I will show you how you can make it this way. I just think it looks a little bit nicer with that centrepiece. It makes more sense to me that way, but either way works just right. And I'll show you. So for a border, I was just toying with the idea of a plain border, because it will be a very big blanket, so I don't really want a big fancy border on it. Plus it's for a man, so he didn't want shells or fancy lacy borders. So all I have done, my first row was just 4 UK double crochets, which are single crochets in each of these spaces, and then 1 row of going in every stitch, the same. And then for this row I did half treble, which is a half double in the US, and then finished it off with 1 more row. So it's just a simple and plain border. So that's all I've done. So I'm going to do the swatch with you now and show you how to do it. So I'm going to pause the video while I get everything ready. Okay, so I've cleared everything out and I have my 6mm crochet hook. Just if you do change it to a 4-weight yarn, which is an Aran in the UK, or a DK, then obviously just use the corresponding size crochet hook. You need a pair of scissors and a darning needle, but if you're quite clever about it, you can work most of the ends of this in. So that's one thing I love about it. So I'm going to start with a slip knot, and you can do your slip knot however you normally do. And I've got a bracelet for Valentine's Day, which is today, and it's going to clunk on the side, so I'm going to try and push it up a little way, because then it hopefully won't do it. So now we need to chain 25, and to do a chain we yarn over and pull through the loop. yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through. So that's 3. Now I'm going to pause this video now and get to 25 because it's really off-putting when someone else is counting at a different rate of yourself. So that's how you do the chain. If you need to see that again, just rewind it a little way, but I will catch up with you again once I've got my 25. Okay, so I have my 25. Now I did say I would tell you how to do the centre a different colour. So we have 25. Our last 2 chain need to be the other colour because they will be the first part of our stitch, you know, our block of 4. We're going to do blocks of 4 and 2 stitches, 2 of the chain count as the first stitch. So you would need to end off at 23 and join it again, and then you'd have tails to work in, and it can be a little tricky seeing where you've ended off and where you've begun, so you really need to be careful to get the right amount. But that's how I did it. I just did 23 in one colour and the last 2 in the colour that I'm going to be working with. It's not as hard as it sounds, but it can be a little tricky, and I didn't want anything to complicate the tutorial. So now what we're going to do is a UK treble crochet, which is a double crochet in the US, and we're going to do it in the 3rd chain from the hook. So the loop that's here on the hook doesn't count. There's 1, 2, you can see the V's, and we're going to go into the 3rd one. We're going to yarn over and go into that stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. So we have 3 on our hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now that is a treble crochet in the UK, or a double crochet in the US. So we're going to do another 2 because these 2 chain count as our first, and we need 4. So I'm going to do that again, yarn over into the same stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So we've got 3. I'm just going to zoom in because it is darker yarn and show you once more. So we're going to go into the very same stitch. Be careful not to pull it so that it's massive. Doesn't matter if the hole gets larger. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So now we've got our 4 in this one here. We're going to chain 1, and in the next stitch, the very next stitch, we're going to do another 4. I know it sounds a lot, but it will work out in the end. So just do 4 exactly the same in that next stitch, just as we just did in that one. I need to pull some yarn out, bear with me a second. It's pulling it a bit tight. So I've got 3, and here's my 4th one, my last one. Now if you take a look at it, what that's done is it's turned this in, let's zoom out, make it a little easier to see. So what that's done is turned a corner. This has now become, where the 1 chain is, has become a corner. This is our side and this is our top. Sorry about that. So now I'm going to skip 3 and go into the 4th. So I need to count along. Make sure you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to yarn over. I'm not going to go into 1, 2, 3, but I'm going to go into the 4th one, and I'm going to do 4 in there. Again, not pulling this hole very big. It will elongate a little anyway because you're putting 4 quite big stitches in, so it will kind of make a bit of a hole, but it won't go into a ridiculous size. So we've got 4 in that one. Now that's our repeat. We're going to count 3. So we've got 1, 2, 3. We're going to go into that 4th one and do 4 all the way to the end to our last 2 stitches, and I'll show you what to do when we get there. I should have pulled more yarn out. Let me just pull out lots while I'm sitting here. Okay, so I've got 3 in that one, need 1 more. Do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's all we're going to do to the end. So I'm going to pause it and I will catch up with you when I get to the very last 2 stitches. Okay, so I'm at the end where we've got our last 2 stitches. So this one here is our 4th one, 1, 2, 3, and that will leave 1 stitch left over. So I'm going to just do my 4 in this one. Whoops, nearly caught the other. Do 1 chain just as we did at this end to create that corner, and then you guessed it, we're going to go into that one last stitch with do another 4. So we're completely replicating what we did at the other end. And I'm going to work over the tail now, and so that will be gone. You can always sew it in just a little bit more to be on the safe side. So there's my 4 in that last stitch, and now I'm going to do 1 chain, and now we're going to work this side. So we've turned that corner. If I move the tail out of the way, make it easier to see, and we're going to go along this part. So we're going to go in exactly the same stitch that we've been in before. So I'm going to work that tail over there. So I'm going to just push it behind so it's out of the way, and I'm going to do 4 in there, exactly the same. We're now going to be working on the opposite side. And don't worry if they fan out, these 4 stitches. We put that right on the next round. So there's our one. I'm going to drop that now because I can't work over it anymore. The gap's too large. So I'm just going to go and do 4 stitches in every place that I've already put 4 stitches along this other edge. More yarn. Chunky yarn. It does actually use quite a bit of chunky. You don't have to make it in chunky, but I just thought it would be nice to make Gary, that's my partner's name, I thought it would be nice to make him a nice chunky blanket. And so nearly there. Let's just speed up a little bit. If I go too fast, then just pause it and catch up with me. I just want to get to the end of this row for you, and so I can show you what we do. It helps keep the tension if I go fast as well. It's what I'm used to. I've got to pull more yarn out in a second. Feel it getting a little tight. Thought I pulled out loads. Actually, it's fine. So the last one will come to our end. So it looks like this. We've got to go in this one, not that one, but the first one that you come to. We've got to do our 4 in there. And then we've got to do our chain so that it's the same as this corner. And we're going to slip stitch into the top of our 2 chains. So there's the first one, there's the second one. We're just going to go in, slip stitch, grab the scissors, and end off. Just move that out of the way a second. So I need to cinch that down. So now we've got our work that looks like this. And if you had done the alternative colour for the chain, then you would have seen that there. But for the purposes of the tutorial, I thought I would just show you, this way, and then you can see how it looks with the contrast, and you can see which one you prefer. But just if you do decide to do it this way, obviously just take care when you're getting to the end of your 23 and you need your next 2 for the other one. Make sure you're going the right stitch. So I'm just going to pause it a second while I get set up for the next round. Okay, so I'm not going to join it this end. I'm going to join it up this end so that we're not working over the same tails. If you want, you can just snip that one off, or you can sew it back through just to make sure, just so that it's perfect. So you can join it anywhere you want. I'm going to go into this corner space. You can join it at this corner or that side, anywhere you want, but I want to be the opposite end to this one. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to join my colour. You can join it however you normally would. So for this purposes of chunky, I just find it easier just to tie it on. Sometimes I go through 2 loops. If I do go through my 2 loops, then I'm very careful in that I have to go right up close to this. Very careful, because if you go through the 2 loops and you do the stitch, it can be too bulky. So now I've got my loop and I'm going to chain up and I'm going to do a UK double crochet, which is a single crochet in the US. So I'm going to yarn into the gap, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, and I just want to pull that along. Now I'm going to chain 3, not loosely, just nice normal chain. I'm going to go back into the same space and do another one. So it's yarn through the gap, yarn over and pull up the loop, yarn over and pull through 2. Before I do that, I just want to show you a little trick that I do. I then pull this tail up and where are we? Where's my tail? What I do is I've got my tail and I pull it so that it's this side, but it goes over my working yarn. It's out the way, and then I just do my stitch. So I've got my 2 loops and I go through both. Now that's up there and easier to work over. So now we've got to go and make our stitches all the way along. So for each segment we chain 2. Now this will get tight, but that's what you want. So when you do your stitch, it's right over in this corner, just like we did just now, but it pulls this into a box shape. So it's just 2 chain and then our UK double or US single crochet, and it will be tight, it will pull, it will look like or feel to you and look like it's wrong because you've not got enough stitch count and it's puckering, but that will pull out, especially when you do the next round. So don't worry about that. It's what we want to happen, because it stops this from being fanned out and pulls it up into the box, which is what we want it to do. So don't worry about it being tight. Keep it nice and snug. Don't let those stitches pull out too loosely, rather. And then we're back at the corner again. So we're going to do our stitch and we're going to chain 3. I chain 3 at the corners except for the last one, because the amount of stitches that have got to go in the corner. You'll see why in a moment. So I'm going to go back into that stitch and finish my corner, which is just, so it's 1 stitch, 3 chain, 1 stitch. So now we have these to go across, and we're going to do our 2 as the same as we would if we were going along this end here, and just get that tail out of the way and go in there and do. So you've pulled that one tight as well. Now we're going to chain 3 because this is a corner, and we're going to go back in and complete our corner. So that's what we're doing. It is looking tight, but don't worry, it will pull out. So that's what we do at the corners of every single corner. We do our UK double or US single, 3 chain, and then another one in the same chain space. So now we're going to chain 2. We're going all the way along the sides again. Chain 2. We're doing that all the way along. It is pulling it, but it's fine, honestly. We need that to happen. Nearly all the way. Nearly at the corner. So here we are back at the corner again. So we're going to do our stitch, our 3 chain, back in the same space, and now we're going to 2 chain, and we're going to slip stitch into our first UK double crochet or US single. So there we are, that looks all puckered up and uncomfortable. Going to end this colour and do one chain to cinch it down and pull it out. So that's what we're looking like now, and it doesn't look very good at all, does it? So we now bring our main colour back in again. I just need to pick up this yarn or it's going to tangle. Don't really want that. I think it is already tangling. So right, pull some yarn out, because this round uses a fair amount of yarn, so we'll pull out a nice amount. And we'll bring our colour in. So again, I want to do it the opposite corner. I would normally snip off these ends, and I'm just going to join it there. So I'm going to pull it through, and I'm just going to tie it on. You can join however you want. When I'm making the blanket, I don't do it this way. I just go through both loops, but I make a fat stitch. But that's for me. I don't really want to show that to you, but I hide mine, so that's fine. So now we're going to do a corner. So the corners are different from these main parts. So we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to do 2 UK trebles or US doubles in that same space. Move that tail down, and we're going to chain 1, and then I'm pulling that over slightly, and then I'm going to do another 3 in there, just so it's kind of traditional granny corner. 3, 1 chain. Some people put 2 chains, but I only like 1 in my corners. So there we are, we've made a corner. Now we're going to go over this part. So I'm going to work over these tails because they're unsightly and I want to get rid of them. So I'm just going to do 4 in there. Because this is the end. We're not chaining or anything in between. The only place that we do a chain is the corner. So I'm going to snip those tails off now because they get in the way and I don't really want them confusing everything. So we're back at the next corner now because we've just done that side. So we're going to do the corner exactly the same. We're going to do the traditional granny square corner in of 3, then the chain, and then another 3 in the same space. So if you have to just pull it along slightly, there is more than enough room there. That's why I do that 3 chain in the corners, apart from the very last row. So if I pull that out now, you can see that that is squaring off really nicely. So there's my corner and the other corner, and it is, now you'll see it pull these out, and so it will fit nicely. So I'm going to do 4 in each of these spaces above our previous 4, and we're going to just put them in. There's 1. I'm going to go in the next one. If I go ahead, then just pause it and catch up with me. But I'm just trying to show you how easily that does pull that out, because I don't really want it to be baggy and holy. I mean, there are holes, but they do stay quite closed. But that's just going to pull these tight chains nice and loosely, you know, just so that it fits just right. Just need to pull some more yarn. So I've done 2, just need to finish that. 4, and then as you can see, they're fanning out again, and on the next row they'll be pulled tighter by the next contrasting colour round. So incidentally, when I did my border for the other swatch, I've finished on this colour. You have to do one of these rows to pull them in, but I finished on this colour and I just put a little bit of the other colour in just to break it up. I'll do it slightly different on this one so you can see the difference between the two stitches, that the half treble or the double, or should I say half double or single for the US. So now we've gone all the way along the side. You can see that's pulled that nicely, that side, and we're back at the corner. So our traditional granny corner, again, the 3, 1 chain and 3. Oops. Find these hooks quite shiny, but sometimes I do lose the stitch because they're so shiny. They allow me to get some speed up, but of course what you've got to remember is I'm not sitting crocheting in my usual position either, so that doesn't help. So there's our corner. Got to do our 4 in this one along the side. So it's making it a nice rectangle shape. And now we've got back at the corner. It's a yarn eater, this one. Does seem to be. Okay, so now I'm back at the corner. I'm going to work over some tails. I'll move that around the back so it doesn't get in the way. My 1 chain in between. Finish the corner. Puckering up a little bit because of these tails. So we're going to do along this side exactly the same as we did this side, but if I pull out this, you can see just how much that's pulled that side out to sort of look nice and normal. So I'm going to carry on doing my 4 in between all of these here, and when I get back to the start I'll come back to you and show you what to do next. Okay, so I've gone all the way to my last one. I'm now just going to slip stitch into the top of my chain, my first 2 chain, make my first stitch, and snip off some yarn and end off this colour. Just move this one out of the way and I'll show you what it looks like. And it's amazing how it really transforms it, doing it in the opposite colour scheme. You can see which one you'd prefer, but it looks effective in either, but I think I like the darker one better. It's just my preference at the moment. Anyway, so I'm going to join again with my light colour or my contrast colour. Pull out some yarn, and again at the opposite end. But you can see how that has pulled that so it looks quite neat now. It is interesting that these yarns, they're both Signet chunky, and yet this darker one is so much softer. So this swatch feels really soft, whereas the other one doesn't feel quite as soft. I always find it amazing, really, that different yarns have different kind of properties, even though they are the same brand. It's odd. So I'm just going to join that colour, and I'm going to pull up my loop. And now I'm going to just chain 3, so chain 3. And I didn't do my stitch there. I just want to show you that it would look no different if I just, you see, looks identical just by having those 2 loops through there. So you don't have to do the first single crochet if you don't want to. If you find it makes it bulky, you can just chain because it looks identical. So now I'm going to chain 2, and again I'm going to go in between each of my segments. Whoops. I always make sure I'm right into this corner. You will be anyway, because 2 chain really isn't very far, so I always pull it, and that way it makes it look squarer. Really does help. And we're just going to do the same again. These are our 2 row repeats now, but obviously each time it does get bigger. So now this is my corner over here, chain 3 and another. We've now got more along the side. Let's go in between. When I was making the blanket, I suddenly thought I'd made a mistake, because as I was going through, I only had 3, but then I suddenly thought, oh, it's the corners, because when you start seeing them on the row beneath, you start to notice that there are only 3 in places. I think you'll see what I mean when you make it. So yeah, I'm just going to go all the way along, exactly the same as before. As this is a nice quick round, I won't pause it and catch up with you, because it's a very, very quick round, not like the other one. I do need to pull out some yarn though, it's getting a bit tight. Excuse me, been having asthma this morning. Don't quite know why. Back at the corner, I'll chain my 3, and just slip stitch into that first stitch there, and that's because I didn't do the right. It's going to end off that colour and cinch it off, and then I'm going to attach my other colour again and do another round. Just need to pause it for 1 second while I go and get my inhaler. I do apologise. Okay, so now I'm going to join this one at this end, so I'm not working over the same tail. This is going to make this my last round, and then I will do the border with you. But obviously you just repeat this round until it's the size you want it to be, and that you can be the judge if you're whatever blanket you're making, or you'll be able to sort of decide what size you want it to be. So I'm going to chain 2 and do my corner, as normal, and go around another round exactly the same as the previous one. I'm struggling, it's because it's curling. I'll have to pull that out, that's better. I was pulling it round, just the weight of it. So there we are. So I've done my corner. Now I'm going to go all the way along my side. I'm going to do my corner, work over my tail on this one and do that corner. I shall work over this tail when I get to here, do the corner. So I'm going to pause it and come back to you when I get back to the start. It's exactly the same as the row beneath. It's just that you have a few more to do this round. So if you need to see again how to do it, then by all means just go back and watch it. But it's exactly the same as the row beneath. These just are our 2 repeat rounds, and that's all there is to it until the end. So I'm going to pause it and I shall catch up with you back at the start. Okay, so I have now finished off my last row of this swatch, and with this particular swatch I finished off on the row where you go in between your groups of 4, and then I started my border from there because I thought that way it would pull these together and I would need that to do that. But it does have the effect that it makes your border just a little bit baggier, like puckered, but it's not too bad. It's only because it's not blocked that I think it looks like that, because this tends to pull it in, so it looks as though there are too many stitches in the border. But as I said, it wouldn't be too much of a problem on a large blanket, and it'd soon pull its shape. But there's nothing to stop you from joining your yarn here and making the border. So that's what I'm going to do, just to see what that looks like, attaching the border straight to that row, and then we can compare them and see which one you prefer, because it doesn't really matter. The border itself is quite plain. So I'm just going to attach my contrast in my corner as normal. I don't have to worry about pulling it, because this time it's just going to have a stitch count which is the stitch that it should be. So now I'm going to just do a row of UK double crochet or US single. Now, because I want to finish in the center of my corner, and my corner will only have 3, I'm just going to do 2 to start with in the corner, and I'm going to pull on that, so then the last one will be in there with it. So I'm just going to do 1 in every single stitch along. So it's just need to put my yarn over there, sorry. I've got this little thing I catch it on so it doesn't fall in front of me. I'm going to work over this tail, and I'm going to go in every stitch and do a UK double crochet or a US single, and that should make no difference to the stitch count at all. Plus, because the previous row pulls in, it won't pucker out, if you know what I mean. So I'm just going to go in every single stitch, working over my tail as I go, and in the corners I'm just going to do 3 stitches. I always start my corner with 2 if I want my yarn to finish dead center of my previous round, and that's especially useful if you're changing colors and you don't want to end off every row. It's just so that I finish it in the middle of the corner. It's only when I'm doing those kind of stitches where, you know, if I'm doing a corner, then I will make half a corner. But because these are single US or double crochets in the UK, just need to pull some yarn out. Then I want to finish in the dead center of it, because I want to do more than 1 row for the border. Right, that should be enough. So I'm just going to carry on then, going in every single stitch all the way around, 3 in the corner. So I'm going to pause the video, and I will pick up with you again when I get back to the start. Right, so I've made it all the way around and I'm back at the corner. So remember, I did 2 stitches in that corner. Oh, need to make my thing smaller. So I'm going to do my last one and then slip stitch into the middle stitch, and that is where I would change colour. So if you want to make your border, I think this actually goes better than the other one. The other one was just finishing, as I said, on this row, and then I did 4 in between. I wondered if 3 would work better, but I'm not sure it would. The stitch count would be wrong, but I don't think it would pull quite as much, or pucker, should I say. But I think I prefer it with this border. It looks so much nicer. So what I would probably do is just a few more rows, maybe 1 more in this colour, then put a row in of this colour and then another one, just to sort of finish it off, or just do a few rows and then you're done. I don't think it really needs a fancy border, especially, as I say, I'm doing it for a man. So that's basically all I would do. So I would change my colour at that point, or I would just end off if that was my last round. So just as simple as that. Cinch it down. And because you've worked over your yarns as you go, that's the only one you've got to sew in, which can't be bad. So let me know which one you prefer. Do you prefer it dark with the light in between? Do you prefer it light with the dark in between? Do you prefer it with the contrasting colour in the initial chain to start with, or do you prefer it like that? That would obviously be the lighter one. So that's the end of the tutorial. So thank you very much for watching, and until the next time, bye bye for now.